This one's quite extraordinary. Perhaps we could move on. Quickly?
Her cheeks are pink with the heat of the party. "How cavalier of you to summon me aboard my own ship," she says. "It is not a summoning, it is an invitation." She raises her eyebrow. "To what?" "If you allow me, you'll have to close your eyes." Her eyes notice a red ribbon in Heinrich's hands. Before he can react, he sees the wheels turning in her mind and feels himself blushing. "No, it's not. You are getting more and more daring every day. I hope this invitation will be as promising as you make it sound." Heinrich curses himself and feels his cheeks go red. "It's not like that, Livia." "Well, that's too bad." He closes his eyes, chasing away a rush of impulses. How infuriating she sometimes could be. "You'll see. I only ask that you trust me." He remains cool despite the heat in his cheeks and blood. She smiles, calming down. "But I already do trust you, Heinrich."
Why am I in so many of these? The Inquisition will be very interested in this individual.
Soon she takes out a palm-sized dark blue box in the colour of her heraldry and weights it in her hand. Heinrich's eyes curiously glance at the object, then they rise to the woman's face. "And what is that?" The tone of voice he uses sounds stern, as if he's expecting some sort of Xenos artifact to lunge out of the small container at him. Or maybe at the rogue trader herself and start slaughtering everyone. Colour red would fit the Sanguinala, Heinrich grimly thinks to himself. "That is something for you." Vera weights the box in her palm again, watching Heinrich's eyes follow the travel of the item, and then she offers it to him. "For me?" Not a question. Not really. More like a suspicious disbelief on his part, and the interrogator delays moving to take it. "And what is it that you deemed necessary to give to me, Vera?"
This individual provokes a great interest.
Zlatko sat opposite, his augment hand closing around the base of the bottle. The label bore the heraldry of some house in the Calixus sector. It cost a fortune. Putting aside its taste of clothes and cinnamon, now that travel was closed for good, this booze was an expensive luxury purely for the scarcity factor alone. Nothing but the best for my princess. He said nothing about the thick calluses along the tops of Jay's toes and along the bottom of her heel. Enough time in a pair of standard issue boots, one size too small, and that skin became a part of you forever. As it should be.
Oh, how adorable. Not enough of these are for me.
Drank recaf that tasted of fish, for the rogue trader's palate was savoury-ish. Sanguinala's striped candy, that sugar-sweet taste, wasn't his cup of tanner, it just went to waste. No holiday cheer made him let his guard down. He still wore armour under his dressing gown. With an eye at his back and a hand on his sword, he glowered and stared at his regicide board. While he pondered the pieces, debating his choice, the Vox came to life. It was Abelard's voice. "Oh, Captain, Lord Captain, you'd better come quick. Half your crew's rabid and half your crew's sick. So grab all your weapons and paraphernalia and come save your crew, and also Sanguinala."
Inspiring for a monkey, at least.
I'm not responsible for this. I might share this one with the Lady Cassian.
She took a step back and looped one arm through Cassia's as they stood side by side, quietly contemplating the work before them. The sense of being drawn in did not fade. Phage could sense it tugging gently at her, as though she were a fish on a line. If the same sensation troubled Cassia, she gave no sign of it. "Are you truly happy with it?" Cassia asked at last. "Can you not tell?" They laughed together, like children sharing a secret. "Oh yes, your colours dance so jubilantly, with streaks of violet and orange shimmering and leaping in a lake of moon-touched silver. I feel as though I will begin to weep at any moment." "As long as you weep for joy, dear Cassia." Phage smiled and inclined her head to rest it on Cassia's upper arm. "Now I must find a place for it." "I had not considered that. Where do you think it ought to go?" "I have some thoughts," Phage said in a teasing, cryptic voice.
How adorable. Oh, I like this one.
Elaine extended her arm, and he was immediately closer at her side, taking it again in his. Come, Heinrichs, you need rest. I will be fine. Didn't even look at her, still too busy to stay in control amidst the crowd. Fine for you is on death's door for most people. Come. She gave his arm a soft pull, letting him know she won't be taking no as an answer. Ready for any argument he would bring up. She heard them all by now. But the festivities. You looked forward to this so much. Hush. There is a moment of hesitation on both sides when she touches his lips. Was this too forward? Elaine withdrew her hand, still feeling his warm breath on the tips of her fingers. I want this to be our celebration as well, to make a tradition for us to look forward to every solar year.
Perhaps I'll hold on to this one.
The maids hurried off to get the tablecloths, and, for a moment, Elena was left alone in the grand hall. Her gaze traced the columns and arches, the lines of carved woodworking, and the swirl of painted frescoes across the ceiling. It was beautiful. Overseeing preparations personally, your ladyship. She recognised the voice, rich and smooth, with a polished, elegant lilt that spoke of good education, warm with an undisguised fondness that was more often than not hidden. Turning, her eyes locked with mismatched shades of grey. Lord Inquisitor Heinrich Van Kalloch stood not far from her. He had been able to slip in unnoticed, despite his armour. The plush carpet that led from the door to her throne had muffled his steps, and her distracted mind had done the rest. Despite taking the position of Lord Inquisitor of the Coronis Expanse, he still looked much the same as he had when he'd been a part of her retinue, when he'd found his way into her bed for the second time.
Perhaps I'll hold on to this one.
Heinrichs, can you cook a chicken with your mind? Amber shouted over the chill wind whipping against her face. Footfalls crunched through trees heavy with their powdery freight, and the solid blue hunk swished against a low-hanging branch. That is your most burning question, Amber Lynn. Doused in snow, Heinrichs pressed his lips thin, but his eyes creased in an amused smile. He flicked the white flakes out of his hair. A smattering remained, dusting it with grey. Like powdered sugar drizzling on fresh-baked waffles, more fluttered down from the trees. And on a whim, she held out her tongue, determined to catch a single snowflake. The tiny sliver melted when it touched the tip of her tongue. The taste, a disappointment. a cool droplet of plain water, awash in warm saliva. A second later, stifled laughter whisked that disappointment away. Pressing a fist to his mouth, Heinrichs tried to regain his composure, but his whole face glowed from within, melting the scowl from his forehead like the first rays of the spring sun melted the last remnants of snow, unearthing a boyish charm. My little flame, never change.
Certainly a natural wordsmith.
Requesting immediate purge of visual data. It is pleasant. This individual provokes a
And you will remove your augments. Heinrichs did not understand. Lord Inquisitor, you will remove the augments installed in you by the Skolasaprilla when you became sanctioned. Such augments mark you as a psyker on sight, which greatly diminishes your usefulness to the Holy Ordos. For the first time in their conversation, Xavier Calcazar looked directly at him. Will that be a problem for you, Van Calox? Heinrichs heard the subtle emphasis on the last two words. Van Calox, a utilitarian name he'd been given, one with no greater meaning attached to it than his position with the Inquisition, assigned to the collective sector as a member of the Ordos Xenos. It was a reminder, and a warning. Heinrich swallowed. No, Lord Inquisitor.
I will be having a conversation with the one responsible for this. Happy Sanguinala indeed.
Pascal moved as he turned towards her slightly. His vox dropped to a low level. He is trying to convert the electromagnetic waves of the second and third planets of the Ianos system into auditory signals. He is slowly succeeding. Now he's going to add the rest of the visible celestial bodies. Ithera nodded, her gaze fixed on Abel. His next trill was longer, in a slightly lower frequency. It was a soft tone, sometimes floating higher, then lower, with little pulses of low notes in between. There was no discernible melody, but the harmonics resonated beautifully with each other. When Abel stopped and cocked his head to the side, as if lost in thought, she felt a pang of disappointment that it had ended so soon.
I seek greater knowledge of this document. A moment. Analyzing content. Assessment. Pleasing to the eye.
Oh, I like this one. Oh, this one looks like fun.
She thrust a paper-wrapped object into his hands. From the Lord Captain! He looked around. Indeed, most of the guests were clutching something. Mugs with slogans, statuettes of sanguinous and suggestive poses alone or with other revered figures, and other such embarrassing things. In some houses, gag gifts were practiced on this day. He spotted Pascal off on his own at a cocktail table, nose deep in some sort of novella that would stir a year's worth of questions about the social mores and behaviours of the lady. Are you going to open it? His stomach tightened. 24 hours of public massacre was preferable to this.
Inspiring for a monkey, at least. Oh, how adorable.
Oh, come thou Lord of Jesse, free thine own from Satan's tyranny. From depths of hell thy people save. Oh, come now, days bring calm and cheer our spirits by thine advent here. Disperse the gloomy clouds of night, and death's dark shadows put to flight. Rejoice, rejoice, Emmanuel shall come to thee, O Israel. O come thou King of David, come and open wide.
This one's quite extraordinary. Perhaps we could move on. Quickly?
A few short weeks before Sanguinala, when the upper hive air of Darganus turned cold and winter settled in, Lord Inquisitor Heinrichs van Kallox watched the snow fall from the von Valancius palace, high above the city. It had wreathed the arching spires of nearby towers, white on stone and steel in the night. Some specks had fallen on the balcony floor beneath him, and decorative fir branches entwined with columns collected the snow like dust. Across the span, the lattice glass windows of other palaces glowed, luminous, some ice clear and others stained with colour, depicting saints and scenes from imperial history. But below, the depths of the hive city stretched, and the snow trailed down, 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 in an endless spiral that faded beyond sight. Heinrich shivered, despite himself. His breath frosted with each exhale, visible by the light of chandeliers hanging in the hall behind him. He pulled his padded jacket closer. The gift he had come here to deliver. The reason he had returned to Darganus after so many years away was safely stowed in his pocket. It was a small thing. A sentimental thing. Though sentimentality was something he could ill afford these days.
beautiful.
Reserving for personal research.
The Inquisition would be very interested in this individual.
It is common knowledge that among the numerous literary figures of the Imperium of Man, Sanguinus inspired acts of romanticism with unequaled efficiency. He performed an uncomplicated feat of martyrdom in the face of undeniable evil. Sacrifice made of love was easy to sympathize with, and easier to celebrate. Across the endless sectors he had inflicted the Inquisition's will upon, only worship of he on Terra and his loving son had brought any sense of familiarity between them. But your arms are so shapely and long, Shireen, perfect for hanging tapestries along the wall. Why, then, was attempting to convince a room full of less than 30 people to present a unified front in the name of the holiday spirit so utterly unachievable? Heinrichs van Kulloch stands with his hand on his hip, nose pinched tight between his callous fingers. The first of his myriad failures had been an attempt to surprise his Katov with a Sanguinalia celebration at all. The second had been his mistrust of the servants. Unconvinced the curious masses could keep a secret, he had conscripted the rogue trader's closely knit retinue and senior officers to organize and execute his plan. I am the scion of House Orselio, not a crane servitor. I have already spent the past 10 rotations on my mural of Sanguinus. Final sacrifice across 200 meters of parchment. Find someone else.
I might share this one with the Lady Cassia.
The machine spirits communicate enjoyment for this piece.
Beulah's smile grows wider. You're letting your guard down easier every day. He allows himself a little smile as well, though it turns apologetic in an instant. I really shouldn't be accepting gifts from a rogue trader, Beulah. Despite his words, he takes the badge, and for a moment, he fixes his gaze on it. Especially not ones of such worth. If I wore it in public, how might it be interpreted? Either a display of affection or an obvious bribe, so shamelessly accepted. Such an accusation is dangerous, both to my reputation and yours. The way he says the last words makes it clear whose reputation concerns him more. I appreciate the thought, Master Inquisitor, she says teasingly, taking a step further, far closer than she should in public. But he doesn't step back, and so she puts her fingers around the badge, just accidentally tracing his palm and stealing a sharper breath from him. But suddenly, he clenches his fingers on hers, his eyes set on their hands, and the rest of her words drown in a satisfied chuckle, a spark of hunger within it. Her voice rings with tease as she says, "Caught off guard again."
Not enough of these are for me. This work reeks of corruption.
Downloading to this unit's private server.
Oh, how adorable.
There had been quite a number of books in the Rogue Trader's library, and with the hunting on the ship being so limited, Marazhai had found himself with little else to do. He'd never considered himself a particularly prolific reader, but he was quite able to appreciate the power of accumulated knowledge. It was in one of these books that he had found the tradition of Sanguinala. A quaint custom, this idea of giving gifts, but perhaps one he could work with. After all, He needed something truly impressive for the monkey Archon, who would not allow him to use either of those terms, of course, to show off his power and strength and how useful of an ally he could be. Of course. The rogue trader hadn't seemed the type to properly appreciate the bloody flayed corpses of his enemies, or the many exquisite pain toys that his Drukhari companion could create. Perhaps he could take him on a hunt.
You should broadcast this to the entire ship. I'm sure they'd be delighted to hear it. Not enough of these are for me.
Warning, heretical content detected.
What a scene greeted Liliandra inside. The sanctum had been decked in tinsel. Banners displayed an unusual depiction of Sanguinus, the holiest of Primarchs, now covered in a cape and hood not unlike that of the Mechanicus Adepts. A tree, probably cut from the forest of Janos, rose in the middle of the towering room, its dark triangular shape half hidden beneath a treasure trove of garlands and baubles. Guests had begun to arrive. The members of Liliandra's retinue were either walking around the room, admiring the festive decorations, or sitting on comfortable sofas sipping mulled amsac from 2 large cups. With almost preternatural rapidity, Heinrichs materialised at Liliandra's side, giving a nasty side-eye to Marazhai. He disapproved of her relationship with the Xenos, as was to be expected from a dutiful servant to the Golden Throne, but usually managed to keep the hostility to a minimum in her presence.
I'm not responsible for this.
Oh, this one looks like fun.
Lord Captain, there's an odd ship right there on our course. Vigdis's voice, alongside the quiet hum, made rogue trader Lucian von Valancius look aside. Turning their gaze away from the slightly illegal set of tarot cards they had recently acquired from similarly slightly heretical pirates. They picked up their Voxcaster and pressed a button, indicating they were listening. It's identifying itself as a trading vessel, but its specifications indicate otherwise. Given your interest in previous encounters of a similar nature, I've decided to take the liberty to inform you long before the other ship has the ability to identify us. Perfect. They smiled, setting the cards aside with one swift motion.
Happy Sanguinala indeed.
Heinrichs, I'm delighted you're here. Please, come inside. Heinrichs followed the rogue trader in, taking great care to note every entrance and exit in the room. He knew the layout of the place, having studied it prior to arriving at Darganus for the Magnae Assessio. There was a more personal touch to the room than before. The rogue trader had enjoyed adding their personal touches on the ship, so it was no surprise to him now. Heinrichs made a mental note to remember these changes for future reference. In his sweep to observe the room, Heinrichs had to do a double take when he saw what had been set up in front of the grand fireplace. A regicide set had been placed on a table, 2 chairs situated on each side. Next to these tables was another table with a wide variety of cheeses and meats and a bottle of Amsac with 2 glasses waiting to be filled. Next to this display was the rogue trader, hand clasped in front of them as they waited for his reaction.
Why am I in so many of these?
You should broadcast this to the entire ship.
Perhaps I'll hold on to this one.
This individual provokes a great interest.
Well, what do we have here? What is FEB23? Is this the Builderbot's reset code? My, Cassard. You've certainly outdone yourself with this one. An exchange of gifts for the truly depraved and vulgar for Valentine's Day. I would rather be subjected to 1,000 vials of toxin than witness any form of gushing. Don't be so hasty. You and the Iron Monkey can try and stop me, but you will fail miserably.